One evening, a woman noticed her dog had started sleeping under the dining table instead of on the bed they'd shared for 3 years. She thought it was funny, a little quirky. Maybe the dog just liked the cool tile floor. 8 months later, that same dog wouldn't come out of a room when guests arrived, wouldn't eat in front of anyone, and had started snapping at the air when people walked past too quickly. When the behaviorist finally sat down with her, she said something the woman never forgot. "Your dog told you 8 months ago. You just didn't know what you were looking at." Most owners think home is automatically safe for their dog simply because the dog lives there. It isn't. Safety isn't a place. It's a feeling your dog builds moment by moment, and when that feeling breaks down, your dog shows you. Quietly, consistently, in ways that look like personality instead of distress. By the end of this video, you will know exactly what those signs look like, and you will probably recognize at least one of them in your own dog. Welcome to PAW'S Mind. If you're new here, subscribe right now because we cover what dogs can't say out loud. Today we're going through 13 signs that your dog does not feel completely safe in their own home. And some of these are so subtle that even attentive, loving owners miss them for months. Key principle. Why dogs hide this? Here's what you need to understand before we go through the list. Dogs do not announce insecurity the way humans do. There's no conversation, no complaint, no moment where your dog sits you down and explains that something in the house feels wrong. In the wild, an animal that visibly displayed vulnerability was the one a predator targeted first. That instinct never left domestic dogs. So instead of telling you directly, your dog manages the discomfort internally and shows it through small shifts in behavior, posture, and routine. The reason owners miss this isn't carelessness. It's that most of these signs look like quirks, personality traits, or just how my dog is. A dog who hides under furniture looks shy. A dog who startles easily looks jumpy. A dog who eats fast and alone looks like a normal eater. None of these read as alarm bells on their own. But your dog's sense of safety is the foundation every other part of their behavior is built on. And when that foundation is shaky, it shows up in places you'd never think to look. Sign 1. Seeking out small, enclosed spaces. Watch where your dog chooses to rest when they're not directed there. A dog who feels secure in their home will often stretch out in open areas, the middle of the living room, the foot of the stairs, wherever the family naturally gathers. A dog who doesn't feel fully safe gravitates toward enclosed, defensible spaces. Under the bed, behind the couch, in a closet, wedged into the narrow gap beside a dresser. Most owners see this and think their dog just likes cozy spots. Sometimes that's true. But when this becomes the dog's default resting choice, especially during times when nothing alarming is happening, it's a behavioral signal. Enclosed spaces limit the angles a threat can approach from. Your dog is choosing positions that protect their back and reduce the directions they need to monitor. If your dog consistently chooses tight, hidden spaces over open ones when given the choice, that's worth paying attention to this week. Sign 2. Startling at normal household sounds. Every dog reacts to something occasionally. That's normal. What's not normal is a dog who flinches at the dishwasher starting, jumps at a door closing 2 rooms away, or bolts upright every time someone drops something in the kitchen, day after day in a house they've lived in for months or years. A dog who feels safe in their environment habituates to its sounds. They learn what's normal and stop reacting to it. A dog who hasn't built that sense of safety stays on alert, treating familiar sounds as potential threats because their nervous system never fully relaxed into the space. Owners often dismiss this as the dog just being sensitive or having always been jumpy. But persistent startle responses to sounds that have been present in the home for a long time indicate a baseline of vigilance, not a personality trait. If this happens multiple times a day and has not improved over weeks, that pattern deserves a closer look. Sign number 3, eating quickly, alone, or only when no one is nearby. Mealtime tells you a lot about how secure a dog feels. A relaxed dog eats at a normal pace, often near the family, sometimes pausing to look up. A dog who doesn't feel fully safe tends to eat fast, with their body angled away from the room, or they wait until everyone has left before approaching the bowl at all. In the wild, eating is one of the most vulnerable activities an animal does. It requires putting your head down and your guard partially aside. A dog who hasn't internalized that the home is safe will treat every meal like it needs to be finished quickly before something interrupts it. If your dog refuses to eat with people in the room, eats in a rushed, guarded posture, or only eats once the house is empty and quiet, that's a sign their environment doesn't feel fully secure to them yet. Sign number 4, excessive scanning of doorways and entry points. Pay attention to where your dog's eyes go when they're resting. A secure dog will glance at a door occasionally, then settle. An insecure dog keeps one eye on every entry point almost continuously, ears tracking sounds from the front door, the back door, the hallway. Most owners interpret this as their dog being protective or alert in a good way. Sometimes it is. But when scanning becomes constant, when your dog cannot fully settle because part of their attention is always monitoring who or what might come through an opening, that's not protectiveness. That's a dog who hasn't decided the space behind that door is reliably safe. The difference is subtle but visible if you watch for it. A confident dog checks and disengages. An insecure dog checks and stays locked on. Sign 5. Difficulty settling into deep sleep. Dogs cycle through light and deep sleep just like humans, and deep sleep is where the most physical and neurological recovery happens. A dog who feels safe will eventually drop into that loose, twitching, sometimes snoring deep sleep state, body fully relaxed, breathing slow and even. A dog who doesn't feel safe often stays in light sleep almost exclusively. Ears still moving, eyes opening at small sounds, repositioning frequently without ever truly going still. Owners often describe this dog as a light sleeper, as if it's just how the dog is built. But true deep sleep requires the nervous system to fully stand down, and a dog that never reaches that state in their own home is a dog whose body hasn't been convinced it's safe to fully let go. If your dog rarely or never appears to enter a deep, motionless sleep at home, that absence is the sign, not a quirk of their sleep style. Sign 6. Avoiding certain rooms or areas of the house. Some dogs develop a clear pattern of steering around specific spaces. The hallway near the laundry room, the corner by the stairs, a particular spot in the living room. Owners usually explain this away with something logical: the floor is slippery there, or that's just not a spot they've ever used. But when a dog consistently routes around a specific area of a home they've lived in for a long time, that avoidance usually has a history attached to it. Maybe something startled them there once. Maybe tension between household members tends to happen in that spot. Dogs build associative maps of their environment, and unsafe associations don't fade just because time has passed. If your dog has one or two areas of the house they reliably avoid with no obvious physical reason, that's a map of where they don't feel secure, and it's worth noticing rather than dismissing. Sign 7. Freezing or stilling when household tension rises. Watch what your dog does the next time voices get raised in your home, even mildly, even between people who aren't upset with the dog at all. A secure dog might glance over and then continue with whatever they were doing. A dog who doesn't feel fully safe will often go completely still, body locked, eyes wide, sometimes not breathing normally for a few seconds. This is one of the most overlooked signs because it doesn't look dramatic. There's no whining, no hiding, just a kind of suspended stillness. But freezing is one of the clearest stress responses in canine behavior. It means the dog's nervous system has shifted into a heightened state and is waiting to see what happens next before deciding how to respond. If your dog freezes during ordinary disagreements, raised voices, or even loud laughter, that's a sign the emotional atmosphere of the home feels unpredictable to them. Sign 8. Hovering near one specific person constantly, even into spaces they don't normally enter. Most owners see a dog who follows someone everywhere as simply affectionate, and often that's exactly what it is. But there's a different version of this that looks similar on the surface and means something else entirely. A dog who feels generally secure in the household follows their person some of the time, but is also comfortable resting alone, in another room with other family members or independently. A dog who doesn't feel safe in the broader environment will attach almost exclusively to one person as their only source of security, refusing to settle unless that specific person is within sight, even following them into rooms or situations the dog would normally avoid. The distinguishing detail is whether the dog can be calm and secure with anyone else in the house, or whether their entire sense of safety depends on one individual. If it's the latter, that's not just love. That's a dog who has decided the rest of the environment doesn't qualify as safe on its own. Sign 9. Resource guarding that wasn't there before. If your dog has recently started stiffening over their food bowl, growling softly when someone approaches their bed, or carrying toys to hidden corners to chew on alone when they never used to, pay close attention to this shift. Resource guarding in dogs who have never displayed it before is rarely about the object itself. It's about a dog who has started to feel that resources, including safety itself, are less guaranteed than they used to be. When an animal's underlying sense of security drops, the instinct to protect what they do have intensifies, even in dogs with plenty of food and toys and no actual scarcity. Owners often address this by training around the guarding behavior directly, working on the food bowl, working on the toy. But if the guarding is new and sudden, it's worth asking what changed in the home recently, a new pet, a new person, a change in routine, before assuming this is purely a training issue. Sign 10. Reduced or absent play behavior. Play is one of the most reliable indicators of how an animal feels about its environment. Animals across nearly every species stop playing when they don't feel secure, because play requires spare mental and physical resources that a stressed nervous system reallocates toward vigilance instead. If your dog used to initiate play regularly, bringing toys, doing the chest down play bow, and that has noticeably dropped off without an obvious cause like illness or age, that decline matters. Owners frequently chalk this up to the dog simply maturing or losing interest, and sometimes that's accurate. But a sudden or gradual disappearance of play behavior in a home where nothing else has obviously changed is one of the quieter signs that your dog's internal state has shifted towards something more guarded. A dog who feels safe has room left over to be playful. A dog who doesn't spends that room on watching the door instead. Sign 11. Excessive submission during ordinary interactions. There's a difference between a dog who is naturally soft-tempered and a dog who flattens their body, tucks their tail, and lowers their head every single time you simply walk past them or speak to them in a normal tone. Owners sometimes describe this dog as humble or gentle, but persistent over-the-top submissive posturing during completely neutral, non-confrontational moments is a signal that the dog is bracing for correction or conflict that hasn't actually been threatened. This usually develops when a dog has experienced enough unpredictability, whether from inconsistent handling, a tense household, or a difficult history before arriving in your home, that they default to appeasement as a constant baseline rather than reserving it for genuinely tense moments. If your dog performs submissive body language during routine, calm interactions where nothing about your tone or body language suggests anything is wrong, that disconnect between the situation and the response is the sign worth noticing. Sign 12. Difficulty being alone in any room, even briefly, distinct from simple attachment. This goes a layer beyond sign 8. Some dogs cannot tolerate being in a room by themselves for even 30 seconds without whining, pacing, or trying to push through doors and gates to reach a person. This is different from a dog who prefers company. A dog who prefers company can still settle alone for a while if needed. A dog who cannot tolerate solitude at all, even within their own home, even with familiar smells and objects around them, is telling you that the environment itself, independent of any specific person, does not register as safe. Their security is entirely externalized onto a person's physical presence rather than the home itself feeling like a secure base. If your dog cannot remain calm alone in any room of your house for any length of time, that's a meaningfully different and more significant sign than simple closeness. Sign number 13, the one most owners only recognize in hindsight. Reactivity that has slowly worsened over time inside the home itself. Not reactivity on walks, not reactivity towards strangers outside, but a dog who has become incrementally more reactive to ordinary things happening inside their own house. Barking at sounds they used to ignore, growling at family members approaching certain areas, snapping at the air during moments of excitement that never used to trigger anything. This pattern develops gradually, which is exactly why it's so often missed. Each individual incident looks small and explainable on its own. But reactivity that climbs steadily over weeks or months, specifically inside the home, in the one place that should feel the most predictable and secure, is the clearest possible signal that your dog's baseline sense of safety has been eroding the entire time. By the time most owners notice the pattern instead of the individual incidents, months have usually already passed. Step back and look at all 13 of these together. The space-seeking, the startling, the rushed eating, the doorway scanning, the shallow sleep, the room avoidance, the freezing, the single-person dependence, the new guarding, the missing play, the excessive submission, the inability to be alone, the slowly climbing reactivity. None of these on their own look like an emergency. Most of them look like quirks, like personality, like just how your dog is. That is exactly why they get missed for months or years. But your dog's behavior is never random. Every one of these signs is your dog telling you, in the only language available to them, that something about their environment hasn't fully convinced their nervous system that they are safe yet. The good news, and this matters as much as the signs themselves, is that a sense of safety can be rebuilt. Consistency, predictability, and patience change this over time. You are the only one who notices these patterns day after day. You are the only early warning system your dog has. If this video helped you see your dog a little differently, share it with someone whose dog deserves to be understood. Subscribe to PAW'S Mind. We go deep on dog behavior every week. Drop a comment below and tell me which of these 13 signs you recognized in your own dog. I read every single one.